Exposing the Global Warming Fraud by Elijah Childs. Just a quick little biographical blip. He's only about 23, so he doesn't have a lot of history, but he's a product of the homeschool movement, and he's currently attending New England School of Arts.
Might have been accepted.
Something like that. He's been accepted. But Elijah, about 2 years ago, actually 2009, he attended the Climate Change Conference along with myself and a few other colleagues on behalf of the New American magazine, and got to meet some of the world's leaders in the anti or the global warming denial or factual community, scientists, and we actually met the president of the Czech Republic, and it was a great time. And Elijah, I first heard this presentation at our summer camp. It was about 3 years ago, and I thought, boy, this show has to be taken on the road because it's too important. And Elijah has given this presentation in Vermont, New Hampshire, some venues in Massachusetts, including the Bible Baptist College in Hyde Park. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Elijah Childs of Roxbury. Roxbury strong boy, that's a good handshake.
Thanks, Hal. Actually, I don't like to consider myself a global warming denier, and neither do any of the other people in the global warming community. We call ourselves global warming skeptics. Because you can't deny that there is climate change, because the climate is changing. The climate is always changing, because today it is warm, tomorrow it might rain, tomorrow it might be cold. That's climate change. That's actual climate change. The climate change we're going to talk about tonight is climate change which is supposedly caused by you and me by driving terrible cars and using our televisions and our air conditioners and generally having a nice, comfortable first world life. To start off, I'm just going to ask, how many of you have heard about the East Anglia email leak? Because that's where the focus of tonight's talk is going to be. How many of you have heard of that? None of you? Oh, okay. Well, then let's get us all on the same page here. Okay. Well, as you know, the climate change movement has hit a bit of a snag. Copenhagen failed miserably. No, it's a shame. The world leaders couldn't get together and work things out, and that's always a tragedy whenever that happens. Oh, goodness. Nothing? Okay. So let's move on to the first slide. For a long time, we've been told that the climate is changing. It is our fault that the climate is changing. There's nothing we can do about the climate change aside from drop whatever pieces of technology that we're holding on to that make our lives comfortable and easy, and renounce them in favor of hybrid cars and gadgets that break twice as easily and are generally not nearly as good. But a lot of the science behind it we actually haven't been allowed to look at because the scientists have been sort of keeping it under wraps. Well, recently, in fact, when was this posted? This was posted. Fine, I won't use the teleprompter. I'm not Barack Obama, I'll use a piece of paper. You can see that I'm using a teleprompter and I'm proud of it. I'm very disorganized tonight. I apologize. It's the camera. The camera's making me nervous. I blame you. You, the people of the internet and cable TV, you are the reason that I am disorganized tonight. It is not my fault. It is you. Yes, it was November 17th of last year that someone hacked into the East Anglia email server and posted about 10 years worth of email posted between prominent people in the climate change science community. And it was posted with this. It said, "We feel that climate science is in its current situation too important to be kept under wraps. We hereby release a random selection of correspondence code documents. Hopefully it will give some insight into the science and the people behind it." And I'm about to talk about a conspiracy, and if this goes on the internet, this will make me one of maybe 10,000 other people posting conspiracy videos online. It's okay, no, but you can believe me, because I'm wearing a tie. And don't go to this URL, that's dead. Go to this URL. This is eastangliaemails.com, and if you don't believe that I've actually got all these emails, you can go read them yourselves on there. No. Okay, so let's move on. I'm not going to go through these in any particular order. because, well, they weren't really posted in any particular order, and they're damning no matter how you read them. This is from Phil Jones, head of the Climate Change University. I should have more information here. Okay, I've got all these backed up here somewhere. What am I doing? Why am I here? Okay, dear Ray, Mike, and Malcolm. Once Tim's got a diagram here, we'll send that either today or first thing tomorrow. I just completed Mike's nature trick of adding the real temperatures for each series for the last 20 years, i.e. from 1981 onward. And I didn't, by the way, I've just copied the emails here. All the spelling errors, those are the scientists, not mine. It's okay. Just because they can't spell doesn't mean they're bad scientists. It's because they lie. That's what makes them bad scientists. I've just completed Mike's nature trick for adding the real temperatures for each series for the last 20 years, i.e. 1981 onward, and from 1961 for Keith's to hide the decline. Mike's series got the annual land and marine values, while the other two got April, September for New Hampshire land. The latter two are real. Presumably that means that all the other ones before it were fake, while the estimates are for 1999, blah, blah, blah. So, what's he saying here? I knew I wanted to introduce myself better. I'm very sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The reason that I'm showing you all these emails is if you cannot trust the science behind man-made global warming, then why should you support legislation telling you how you should live your life based on this so-called science? If the science is wrong, then surely we shouldn't sign treaties like Copenhagen or the Kyoto Protocol. But yes, well, but we're told that the science is settled and the science is sound and that nobody disagrees. Well, I'm here to show that the science is most certainly not settled, and what science they claim is settled is actually not science at all, but made up out of thin air. And I wish I was joking or being sarcastic, but I am not. What is Mike's nature trick that he references here? This is actually the second time he said it. Well, the first time we saw Mike's nature trick was back in 1998 with this little graph. This is the Mann et al. 1998 multi-proxy study. This was published by the United Nations in their 2001 climate assessment report, in which they show a very scary graph showing that the Earth's nice and normal up until the turn of the century. Then, oh my goodness, there's a huge spike. What's going to happen? We're all going to die. See that? See that? It's pointing upwards. That's bad. There's red. Red means bad. And this was featured a nice, big, full-page spread in their report. Well, it turns out that someone either lied to the United Nations, and the United Nations just didn't really care all that much. Nobody decided to try and... Oh.
Speak up.
Well, why can't we trust this graph? Well, there were two Canadian scientists called Russ McKintrick and Stephen McIntyre, and they got a hold of the source code that Michael Mann mentioned were here. Mike. They got a hold of his source code that he used to compile this graph, and they found that he'd entered the data incorrectly into it. So when they went and took all this data, entered it in properly, they got this instead of this. That wasn't bad enough. You see, it looks like, you see here's, this part right here has been completely flipped in reverse for Mike's version. But while over here, it's identical. Why is it identical? Well, turns out you can't trust Mike's compiler, because no matter what you put into it, you get the same graph. Yeah. Here you have, what, 7 graphs? The bottom one is the original graph made by Michael Mann. The rest of these were generated using random numbers. Turns out that Michael Mann, no matter what you fed into his compiler, you got the same graph every single time. And this is supposed to be an accurate representation of Earth's climate history, showing irrefutable proof that mankind is responsible for warming in the 20th century. And who is this Michael Mann? Well, actually, Michael Mann is a tenured professor at the Pennsylvania State University. And why was he doing that? Well, it's not just showing that there was a big spike at the end of the 19th century. it's also hiding this little thing, which they really don't want you to know about, called the Little Ice Age. This is taken from the United Nations report in 1990, 8 years before that graph got posted in it. And what it shows is a medieval warm period that's actually much warmer than it is today, showing that not only has the Earth survived warm temperatures before, but in fact, if you look in the history books, you'll see that the medieval warm period is known as a time of great prosperity, agriculturally and socially and politically for the most part. So not only did the Earth get much warmer than it was today, but it was also very, very good for the Earth. But that flies in the face of global warming will destroy us all, so of course it gets hidden. And further proof that scientists really can't account for warming, here's Kevin Trenberth, and he's on the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. And he says the fact that we can't account for the lack of warming at the moment the fact is we can't account for the lack of warming at the moment, and it is a travesty that we can't. The CERS data published in the August supplement on 2008 shows there should be even more warming, but the data are surely wrong. Our observation system is inadequate. Yes, Kevin, your observation system is very inadequate because the science doesn't fit your theory, so of course the science must be wrong. And well, I'm all over the place tonight. I forgot to mention with this email here, the person here, Phil Jones, is he's the head of the East Anglia University, and what he's talking about is he's replaced the unfavorable actual data with approximate data. Just, you know, if I don't like what actually comes out, that's okay, I'll just make up some science, no one will notice. Kevin Trenberth. What did I have? What dirt did I have on him? Oh yeah, Kevin Trenberth is the head of the climate analysis section of the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and he was the lead author of the 2001 and 2007 United Nations IPCC assessment reports. And even he admits that they can't account for global warming. By the way, everything you see here, these are private emails emailed to each other. This isn't anything they've actually published. So while they're saying that global warming is most certainly going to destroy us all, behind our backs are saying, there's nothing wrong, what do we do? So, let's move on to the next email. Just sent loads of station data to Scott. Make sure he documents everything better this time, because I guess he didn't document it right the first time. It's okay, we can trust these scientists. And don't leave stuff lying around on FTP sites, you know, public access sites where you host all your data. You never know who's trolling them. The two MMs, Russ McKintrick, Stephen McIntyre, the guys that found out fraud, that caught them forging data the first time, have been after the CRU station data for years. And if they ever hear there's a Freedom of Information Act in the UK, I think I'll delete the file rather than send it to anyone. Does your similar act in the US force you to respond to inquiries within 20 days? Ours done. The UK works on precedents, so the first request will test it. We also have a Data Protection Act, which I will hide behind. Tom Wigley has sent me a worried email when he heard about it. Thought people could ask him for his model code. He is retired officially from the UEA, so he can be behind that. IPR should be relevant here, but I can see me getting into an argument with someone at the UEA who will say we must adhere to it. So this is them saying that rather than being forced to show their data and the science that they're working with, they'd rather delete it. Apparently we should just take their words for it. But when they want to delete files rather than show them to us, they must have presumably something to hide. And more deleting evidence. Can you delete any emails you had with Keith regarding assessment report 4, another United Nations report? Keith will do likewise. He's not in at the moment, minor family crisis. Can you also email Gene and get him to do the same? I don't have his new email address. I'll be getting Casper to do likewise. I see the CA claim they discovered the 1945 problem in the Nature paper. Cheers! Oh look, someone caught them making up data. So what's their thing? Oh, revise the theory? No. Delete everything! Oh.